podcast publishing. It's time to look at how we can systemize this step of your podcasting workflow. Hi and welcome to the Podcast Lab TV, the YouTube channel filled with advice for the independent podcaster. In this video, we're gonna look at the fourth step in the 5-step podcasting workflow, which is podcast publishing. And then we're gonna look at what to think about and do to systemize that step. Before we dive into today's content, a quick note. I mentioned this is the fourth step, which means that we've covered several steps before today's one. In case this is the first time you watch any of my videos, check out the linked videos because there I've linked to all the previous steps. 1, 2, 3, and now it's time for step number 4. There are two main things that fall into the podcast publishing category. The first one is to publish your episode, so upload it to a media hosting and click publish. And the second is to publish that episode on your online headquarters, your website. The steps to get started with your podcast publishing are very simple. First off, upload the final audio file to your media hosting, whether you're using Libsyn, Podbean, Spreaker, Blueberry, or anything else. You want to upload the final audio file, the one that is ready to go, to your go-to media hosting platform. Make sure that you've done the ID3 tagging before you click publish. After your episode has been uploaded to your media hosting, you can decide whether it's publishing day, so you just click publish, or you schedule its future release. That's what some podcasters do, is they upload several episodes at once and they just schedule the official publishing. So whether you want to go for door number 1 or door number 2, that's how you go about the publishing of your episodes. Really, you just upload it to your media hosting. As for the publishing of your episode on your website, you want to rely on what is called a show notes page, a page where you have pointers related to the episode, you link to the resources mentioned and things like that. In that case, what you want to do is to have a podcast player on the specific show notes page. You can use your media hosting's native player, or you can use something like the Smart Podcast Player or the Simple Podcast Press Player. In my case, I actually use a combination of both the Smart Podcast Player and the Simple Podcast Press Player. It doesn't really matter whether you use one, the other, or your media hosting's native player. You just want to make sure that you upload the episode specific player to your show notes page. And when it comes to the actual publishing of the show notes page, you can even do that on autopilot to some extent. I know that Libsyn, for example, lets you connect your podcast RSS feed to your website, and it creates automatically a page that has the number, the title of the episode, as soon as the episode has been published via Libsyn. So in that case, he would automatically create the page for you. You just go in, add the pointers, bullet points, links, what have you, add the player for the specific episode, and you're ready to go. If that doesn't sound good, you can simply just take care of the publishing of the show notes straight from your WordPress website. I say WordPress website because that's the CMS content management system most podcasters, myself included, use. Taking care of the publishing of your podcast is relatively simple and easy thing to do, even as an independent podcaster, for the fact that, as I said, you can actually schedule the publishing of several episodes, several show notes pages as well, even from WordPress, which means that you can spend a few minutes or a couple of hours, depending on how many episodes you want to line up, take care of everything at once, and then your media hosting, your WordPress site will take care of the publishing by themselves. If you prefer to bring somebody on board, no problem, the steps remain the same. First, just upload your episode to your go-to media hosting. Again, make sure that the ID3 tagging for the specific episode has been done. Then you have the person publish or schedule the publishing, and depending on whether you have connected your WordPress site to the podcast RSS feed or not, you have them also take care of the publishing of the show notes page on your website. So how do we systemize the podcast publishing step? It's very simple. Similarly to what we've done for other components of the podcasting workflow, you want to map out, write down all the steps involved in the podcast publishing. Upload final audio file to media hosting. Double check that ID3 tagging has been done. Fill out additional information if that's something you need to do. Publish or schedule publishing. And then there is your website side of the conversation. So create show notes page, publish it, or schedule the publishing. These are pretty much the steps that are part of the podcast publishing process. So make sure to write those down, and you want to be as specific as possible and really break those down, especially if you have somebody helping you, because you may be using a specific media hosting, for example, and the person who's gonna help you has never used that media hosting. So the more detailed you are in writing down your steps and instructions, the easier it's gonna be to carry out the podcast publishing, both for you as well as your assistant, team members, or professionals you may be working with. The next video is gonna be all about the fifth and final component of the podcasting workflow, which is podcast promotion. If you don't want to miss out on that video and any other video really, the best way to stay in the loop is to subscribe to the YouTube channel and enable the notifications setting so that you're going to be notified as soon as I have clicked publish on a video.